Hi guys, welcome to OKG podcast mini pod. This is a Q&A, so it's kind of like a get to know me podcast. So I have a couple of questions, and by the way, I know it's been really, really long. I'm so sorry. Like for those of you listening who do like to engage on the podcast, who do like to listen, I apologize for taking so long to make another one. It's not even a full one as well, it's a mini pod. There will be another full podcast. It will be social fixation. It will be after this Q&A one, so stay tuned. But yeah, I'm just going to get straight into the questions. So we've got like quite a few questions, which is cool, and they're all open-ended as well. So we've got question one from Miss Kaur, Miss H Kaur, from Twitter, and she says, in regards to gender preference and misogyny, that's what's in regards to. So I would like to ask you, since you do seem passionate about such topics, what steps have you taken to change that regressive mentality, whether towards Guria or later on in the North Sus dilemma? What has worked? What hasn't worked? And what can we do to concentrate to make things better? Okay, so what steps have I taken to change the mentality? I feel there are podcasts that I'm gonna do in the future. One is regarding gender preference, which you mentioned, in the Punjabi community. That also includes female feticide and infanticide. But I would like to do a collaboration on that one with a few other maybe women and maybe some guys as well, just to get their viewpoints, because otherwise it's just me talking about my viewpoint, and I'd like to other people's viewpoints as well in regards to gender preference experiences. If anyone's family has ever like gone through that, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people have, a lot of women probably have as well, in our community, because unfortunately the regressive mentality is still here today, and it was back in the day, it was prevalent as well. So I mean, so I'm trying to do things like that. I think everything in regards to trying to change a regressive mentality is all about education and creating awareness as much as you can, because mentalities like the ones that the generation previous to us have, they're not changed easily, because it takes time, and you literally have to it's like a nail, you slowly have to hammer away at it until it completely goes in. And even then, sometimes the nail's still a bit bent, because people still have concerns about you know how comes the younger generation think completely different to us. I think it's a lot to do with stubbornness as well, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not gonna say that we're not stubborn as a younger generation, we really are. But I think the older generation is, but they find it hard to admit that they are, because it's kind of like, so we as a generation, whereas like we talk about, we learn from each other, we want to grow from each other, but the old generation sometimes are like, we've done learning and growing, like we're adults now, we know everything sort of mentality, and unfortunately that's the mentality then that is not open to learning new things, not wanting to discuss other things other than what they already know. So especially at home, like it all starts from home, in my opinion. Like you're at home and you want to discuss, for example, like why can't Munde and Guria both do the household cleaning and the cooking? Why is it always emphasis on the Guria, and from a young age as well? My opinion in this completely is, I've already said this to my parents, like, if you had said to me, I had to learn for myself to how to cook and clean, I would probably be less argumentative about it. But the fact of the matter is, if you, like, I do learn as well, I do clean, but I'm just saying, like, it makes you kind of feel like you're being brought up to cater to someone else's needs before your own. And I think that is what the most prominent thing that actually pisses a lot of women off, and a lot of women growing up, because it's kind of like, even from a young age, you're like, oh yeah, what is your sass gonna say? What is this person gonna say? And it's like, why are you saying that though? Because at the end of the day, well, you should be saying to us, like, you need to learn how to cook for yourself so you can feed yourself. You need to learn how to clean for yourself so you can, keep your room tidy, so you're not you can find everything in your room, so you're not being messy and stuff like that. That should be what we're grown. That should be what we're taught growing up. It shouldn't be, oh, you need to learn how to cater to someone else's needs when you get married. At the end of the day, like, you should always, if you know how to cater towards your own needs, you're gonna know how to cater for someone else because you already know how to do those things. This is the problem. This is why it needs to be at home that we sort of, not even sort of, this is what we need to speak to our parents about and say, this is wrong. It shouldn't be like this. Obviously, we're going to have to learn to cook and clean, but it should be for ourselves first and foremost. And then we would naturally know how to cater for someone else when we become mothers or parents or husbands, wives, whatever. But there should also be an emphasis on the fact that it shouldn't be just women. It's like, I've said this maybe previously. I've said this in the tweet actually that a lot of people saw. It was, if someone comes around to my house for Rishta, I'm not gonna sit there and just be asked, do you know how to do gar the gum, and not say it back to the other person, because it's 2020. This shouldn't still be happening. Like, both parties should know how to do gar the gum. You can't expect two people to go to work the same hours, relatively the same hours, and one of them come back home, rest, and the other person is like stuck in the kitchen doing everything themselves. That to me is selfish. That to me means you don't really care. You're not compassionate towards your husband or wife, mainly to the wife. And I feel like, come on, like, you do it together, you get it done quicker. Like, why is that logic so hard to comprehend? It's true. Obviously, if one person was working longer hours, then you wouldn't expect them to come back and be like, no, you need to do everything and help me out, because it depends what profession you're in, I feel, as well. But it doesn't mean that you can use your profession to justify doing nothing either, though, at the same time. So you still do need to do some things. I feel like a way a household should work is everyone should pitch in, and everyone from a young age should be taught, like, to learn how to nourish yourself, learn how to look after yourself, learn how to keep yourself clean, and later on you'll know how to do it for others. You'll know how to help other people. You know how to care for other people as well as yourself. So it's just these simple things that completely go amiss with the older generation. I do not understand. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people from the previous generation, a lot of parents who do know this sort of thing and they do teach it to their kids. But I feel like if we look at it from a ratio perspective, it's not even. is There is a majority and a minority of people who do that. So yeah, so that's, I feel like, for this regressive mentality, I think it all starts at home and having conversations, open conversation with your parents. But obviously the other party needs to be, willing to listen as well. And I think it's kind of just like, you need to explain to them in a way that they might understand, and sort of say, look, we're not trying to say that we don't want to do anything. We're not trying to say that you're trying to, favoritism, even if they are, because it's kind of like a defense mechanism. It's like, no, we're not doing the favoritism. We're not, but at the end of the day, you've got to go to your own house. You just got to sort of explain it to them in the way it's kind of like, well, if you had said, like, from a young age, like, and I also feel, do you know what, it's frustrating because it's always women doing it to other women as well. And I feel like, you've been through this, why would you want your daughter to go through this as well? It doesn't make any sense. I feel like the previous generation do have some responsibility in the way that they should. I understand it's a generational thing and there's a generational gap, but you have to understand, like, if you made the change and you said, no, I'm going to, bring up my daughter like this, not how I was brought up, there would have been such a massive change in people's mentality. But unfortunately, most of the time it's still there, because they still end up bringing the kids up like they were. And in a lot of ways there's some good things about the way they were brought up, but there's some also very regressive things. So, like the inequality of how men and now how sons and daughters are brought up. Like, it's kind of like the son most of the time is not expected to really do anything. And I said it's not every household, it's some, but it is a majority of households from what I've heard growing up. And it's like, you're expected to just leave because you're a daughter at the end of the day. So it's kind of, you know, we're kind of bringing you up to know everything, but not for yourself, but for someone else. So as I said, yeah. So yeah, that's I've had conversations like this at home as well, to be honest. Whether towards Guria or later in the North Sus dilemma. I'm not married yet, obviously, but in regards to the North South dilemma, I feel like there needs to be an understanding. And as I said, if the Sus is aware that there should be equality, you know, between her daughter-in-law and her son, then, you know, it would be a lot better, because then the household would run differently. Um, but you know, in many cases it's not, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that would, if it was sort of like said at the start, when you're meeting someone, you're meeting their families, I think that might be a good idea. And I honestly, I don't get why some people are told, like, yeah, when you meet someone's family, don't put them off, or don't say things to them, like, you know, that they would think you're like, these are the words I hate: chalak, tej, um you know, she talks a lot or whatever. How is someone gelato because they're voicing their opinion, first of all? How is someone did, which means basically like she's, well, it means fast, but like it's sort of like a bit of a, I feel like it's said in a seedy way. Sort of, you know, she's quite, basically she's got a mouth on her, I think that's what it means from what I know. So I don't really understand why girls are called that when they speak up, because if a guy speaks up, it's kind of like it doesn't really matter as much, but when a girl speaks up, it's kind of like they're sort of named those things, and I think it's blatantly out of order, first of all. Personally speaking, that would never stop me from speaking my mind, because as I've said, like, if someone asks me, do you do housework, I'm like, yeah, do you? Because at the end of the day, as I said, it's, come on, we're like, look at what year it is. It's not like back in the day. We need to understand that, well, I think a lot of the moms of sons also need to understand that, you know, women can talk as well. They're allowed to ask certain questions as well, because if you're asking them, it's only fair that they ask you back, first of all. So yeah, I mean, if it's said from the beginning, like, you know, look, I would like to know that this is an equal marriage. I do not want to go into it thinking, you know, I'm going to be doing everything, or that the fact that you want a maid or something in your house, because that's not what a daughter-in-law is. She is no way a maid. She is part of your family. You're supposed to consider her your daughter. You're supposed to consider her your wife and be caring, compassionate towards her. It's not kind of like, oh yeah, another person to do the work. It's not. If that's what you want, you're looking for the wrong person at the end of the day. Like, if the other person's not willing to do something like that, or I don't think really any girl wants to be treated like that. So yeah, so in the normal sus dilemma, if that's what you mean, Miss H. Kaur, I think, yeah, I think that mentality definitely needs to be changed, but starting with conversations, like open conversations when you first meet their parents. In regards to misogyny, I have, and gender preferences, I've had written a collection. I'll put the link to the free ebook. It's called the Mentality Series in the comment box below if you guys haven't read it already. It's to do with a lot of issues that women go through, and you know, because of misogynistic ideals, because of misogynistic opinions from men, and just misogyny in general. Um, is like female genital mutilation, there's sati, there's dowry, there's female infanticide, there's feticide, there's rape, there's domestic violence. Um, there's quite a lot of issues that I've covered, and they're all researched issues as well. So the issues that I've researched about, they're from real accounts, they're from real news accounts and articles, and also documentaries that I've watched as well. So if you want to read that collection, is so that I think that's something that I've tried to do to try and create awareness, and then hopefully have an effect and create some sort of change in people's mindsets when they read it. So yeah, that's another one of those things I've done to try and create change. But as I said, just to give an overview, like the only way we can really make change and concentrate on making things better is by basically just educating each other. I think in a respectful way, just educating each other, trying to create that awareness, which inevitably will hopefully, create some sort of change. Even if it's a small change, I feel like it's a step in the right direction. Nothing ever. You're not gonna say to someone, "Oh, you need to do this," and they're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, okay." No, as I said, it's like slow. It's like a nail, and you have to hammer it very slowly until it goes in fully. But yeah, so yeah, that's to answer your question. I hope I did it justice. Um, Seriously, I'm gonna get a sore throat by the end of this. You can probably hear my voice crackling. Question 2 is from Ritu Kaur. Hi Ritu, what got you into writing? Oh, okay. So I first started writing when I was at school, and it was because I needed an outlet and a way to express myself. I think it's similar to a lot of writers out there, to be honest with you. And I also, that's when I started writing about my surroundings and what I felt about the environments I was in as well. It was started when my dad came back into my life, so I think I had a lot to say when I was writing about it, and also I was being bullied at the time as well, so I was kind of feeling by myself. I did have my friends, but it's sometimes your innermost deep thoughts you don't always want to share with other people, so I just kind of had like a little dear diary moment. I don't have those diaries anymore, but I did start writing. I do have the very first diary I wrote in that I wrote poetry, and I do have that. And I have actually shared some of the poems from that on my Instagram account. Don't know if they're archived at the moment or not, but if you want to try and check them out, they might be on there. But yeah, so it was just basically a way to express everything I was going through. I think I went through quite a lot of school, to be honest with you, so that is what got me into writing, and I felt like the more and more I wrote, the easier it was for me to sort of let everything out into poetic form, and I really enjoyed it as well. And it made me feel better afterwards, which was, to me, was the main thing. I've said this like a million times, I think, not even if it's to myself, that I always write. If I don't like what I write, then there's no point in me writing it. So I have to like what I write as well, in terms of poetry in general. Like nowadays, I'm not talking about my dear diary moments. I mean, like, now I have to, if I've written something and I don't like it, then I'm not going to share it, because I feel maybe I don't like it because it's not raw enough, and it's me not being true to myself. So it's more like me trying to pour something out onto paper, but it's like I'm not completely pouring it out. I'm kind of like skipping little bits, and I haven't properly done it yet. So yeah, so that's what got me into writing. I hope the last little bit I said made sense. Hopefully it did. Question 3 from Aman. I would love to honestly know more about you personally, like what you do for a career and where you're from, etc. So I'm Punjabi. My dad was actually born in Kenya, Nairobi, but that doesn't make me Kenyan though. My mom was born in Calcutta in India, so but yeah, overall I am Punjabi though. And I was born in West London, but I grew up in Hertfordshire and I still live here. What do you do for a career? Oh, okay. So my job role, I work in digital marketing in a financial company. Um, and digital marketing, so it's kind of a mixture of a couple of things. Obviously you do work with social media, but that's not the be and end all of my role, and it's quite a small part of my role actually, working on social media. So you deal with customer queries, you do social media posts, I do some graphic design for the social media posts sometimes, but I mainly work on Google My Business. So that's to do, and at the moment I've just started writing articles as well for my role. So SEO, optimized articles. I try to do it as much as I can. I'm still learning, but I really enjoyed it because I like writing anyway. So the fact that I'm able to do content for the company is amazing. So it's their search engine optimized articles. Search engine optimization is basically when you optimize your content so that it ranks higher on Google, on like the first page of Google. So when you type something in, like keywords or key phrases, for example, I don't know, like, where can I get donuts or whatever, I don't know. You want your page to rank as high as possible on that first page of Google where all the search results already come up. So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment with the content at work. So I'm trying to make it search engine optimized so that it can rank higher on Google when someone searches that specific key search term. At the moment I'm doing Auckland, New Zealand. So, hopefully hopefully it will do quite well. But there's a lot of aspects in how you make it SEO optimized. So there's a lot of aspects. Like, for example, you have to use backlinks that links to other websites that are like reputable websites. So like government websites are quite good. Yeah, but I'm not gonna try and bore you with all of that. It's quite a lot. I also work with shopping centres as well because we have a lot of stores. Our company has a lot of stores, so they're in different locations all across the UK, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. So yeah, I do end up speaking to a lot of them most of the time, just sort of getting them to promote us, or changing something on the website for our branch page. Sometimes I do reports, and I do work on like separate projects as well, like little projects. I was working on one the last week, I think it was. It was something to do with, sorry, it was to do with costs when you travel to different countries, which is really helpful for our customers as well. So, and we try to make like, for me, I'm always trying to think of ways to make our content more customer centric, just so that we're more approachable as a company. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other things. So as I said, I don't want to bore anyone. It's a lot of different things I do within my role. Every some things are very samey on daily basis, and some things are very, very varied. So every day can be completely different. Yep. So that is what I do for a career. I would love to know more about you personally. I don't know how to answer that. So, person. Okay, my favorite color is emerald green. Does that work? Does that work? I also love sunflowers. I love yellow roses as well. I love to read. I don't always get the time, but I try to make the time as much as I can. I'm literally reading like 3 to 4 books at the same time right now, like in between each one. My brother was saying to me, he's like, do you even know which book you're reading when you're reading it? Do you remember? I was like, no, I do. It's actually really weird. I just pick up where I left off, no matter which book it is. One of them is an audiobook though, so that makes it a lot easier. Oh, I'm also reading Waves by Ritu. Shout out to Ritu. So I'm reading her poetry book as well, which is absolutely amazing. So you should go check it out if you haven't. Yeah, so I love reading. I do try to play badminton when I actually have someone to play badminton with. Everyone's kind of hiding out at home at the moment, so you don't really get the chance to do that. I do also like to go to coffee shops, but I haven't really been doing that much at the moment. I love to meet up with my friend, which I will be doing soon, and just basically catch up and chat with them, and that's just me in a nutshell, really. I mean, I know there is probably more to me, but you just have to see if I ever meet you. Question 4 from Steve. How can we make young kids understand not to get in the game of followers because they're never going to get anything out of it? Concentrate on future, keep social media just to interact with other people only. So what's the best way to help them so they don't get addicted to social media? I'm actually gonna touch more on this in the social fixation podcast, and also the blog article that I'm writing on that topic at the moment as well, just social media in general. But there's lots of different sections to it, and it's gonna go quite in depth. But just to sort of touch on it a bit with this question as well, because it's a really good question, by the way. Thank you. So this is a bit from my article that I've written, so I'm just gonna go over that. So this is in the section that is reality versus highlight reels. So I've said on Instagram, you may think there are 20 different types of filters, excluding the ones on the story. However, from what I've seen, there are only 2 types of filters. There's the rose tinted one that the Instagrammers want you to wear, and the green filter that people end up wearing because they envy what you have, or to be more precise, what they think you have. In reality, you are envying someone's highlight reels. You want your life to be like that, but their life isn't like that. What you are seeing is not their daily What you're seeing is not their life daily, but instead carefully curated and chosen moments that they have as highlights on their page. And more often than none, these moments have been taken 100 times before they choose the right one, because in this digital age, visualization is everything and visuals have to appeal. So that's like a little bit of my article that I've written. It's basically, just to give a quick overview, it's basically just saying that a lot of people think there's a lot of filters, but in fact there's only 2, because one is like a green one where you're envying people, and the other one is a rose tinted one where you want exactly what the other person has on social media. You want their life. For me to say to kids like to not go on social media and go on it all the time is it's not gonna work. Basically, it's no matter how hard you try, everyone is on social media. If you're not on it, you're considered like there's this pretty much you're considered that something's wrong with you if you're a kid. Obviously, as young adults, we tend to like understand that if you take a break from social media, it's fine. But I do feel like the younger generation, it's kind of like you have to be there on all the time. You have to post all the time. You have to, from what I've seen, you have to just constantly be relevant in some way. And for sometimes it kind of goes to the extreme where you probably try to do things so much so to try and stay relevant that isn't really who you are anymore. So yeah, I would just say to any, because it's like at the end of the day, social media is not the be and end all of everything. Although it might seem like that, it's not. There are so many other things you can do offline that you don't need to. You don't need to post everything you do online. To be honest, it's not safe to do that anyway. Just to let you guys know, it's not safe to post every single thing you do. It's not safe to post every location you're in, especially if you're in that location at that time. You don't know who's um got bad intentions for you, who's following you on your social platforms. You don't know, so you have to be very careful as well, especially as a kid. Not get into the game of followers. I understand from a digital marketing perspective how followers are important. I'm not saying that I don't know at all, or that it's redundant, because it's not. Followers and engagements and impressions do matter if you're, but I feel they matter more for if you're building a business platform for yourself, or you have a company and you're trying to promote it. If you're trying to become a God, what are they called? Influencer, I think they're called. Yeah. God, I sound old, I don't even know. Influencer. If you're trying to become an influencer, I couldn't think of the word. I feel if you're trying to become an influencer, I feel like you should try and be as raw as possible on social media to give a clear depiction of what social media is. Because I feel you sometimes have somewhat responsibility when you're on social media to the younger generation, if you're an adult, I'm talking about, to not just post the good things, but if you really want to, also post some things that you've been through that might actually help other people and relate to them. A lot of poets do this. A lot of people in the creative community do this as well, which is quite good. Sort of give an insight that not everything is 100% amazing every single day, because it's not. It's not reality. But yeah, I just think it is something that's really hard to get kids to understand. I feel. Because I think we've all been there as well. Like when we first started to use social media, it's a thing where you have to you want to stay relevant. And then as you grow older, it matters to you less and less. Like it doesn't matter to me anymore, to be honest. I'm not trying to please anyone. I've kind of realised myself that, I'm who I am. I want to be there for me. I don't need to be there for anyone else. At the end of the day, I need to make sure that I'm staying true to myself and not trying to become someone I'm not. And yeah, as you grow older, that's when you kind of realize that. So to not in the game of the follower, not to get to the game of followers, I think that comes with time. If I'm being very honest, I think it will be realized with time. But to not get in the game of followers in a sense that I'm gonna be really honest with you, I don't even think that followers matter that much. A lot of people forget that it's more to do with engagements and impressions as well. Followers, because look, you can have like 500-600 followers, which I have at the moment on my Instagram, and that doesn't mean that every single one of those 500-600 followers is gonna like your stuff, because they don't. And I've noticed that, I know that already. So I feel like if you're gonna find followers, find ones that actually want to engage with you. Find ones that actually like your work or what you do on social media and actually do want to talk to you about it, because otherwise there's not really any point. Otherwise you're just having like people just following each other for no reason, and also they're not really relevant to what you're doing as well. So it's to me, like, followers, I just feels like completely pointless sometimes. Yeah, you get to a certain amount and then you get more likes, but it's still not exactly the total amount. As I said, not everybody's gonna like, and I think that's what kind of triggers people. Like, oh, we need more followers, we need more followers because we're not getting enough likes, and then it just comes with kind of like an addiction, unfortunately. So I feel like social media itself is an addiction. I'll be honest with you. I mean, how many times have we opened the app and then opened it again, like, 5 minutes later because we're bored? I'm guilty of it. I'm pretty sure everyone else is guilty of it, but it's literally an addiction because you just want to know. Or either you want to mindlessly scroll because you're bored, or you just want to know what's going on in other people's lives because you're noisy. So there's one of two things. It's probably something else as well, but yeah. So yeah, I just definitely think to get through to kids, it's just to reiterate that there's other things to do in life. You need to grab opportunities. Like, you need to like read books first of all. Like, damn, get a book every now and then. Go out with people, go out with your friends, and go to a place where you don't have to use your phone. Go paintballing, go bowling, go do a sport that does means that you can't use your phone at that time, so you can actually properly enjoy yourself. But yeah, I think those types of things are what can get people away from social media and actually engage with real people. So question 5 is from Mandeep. What advice would you give to your younger self? I would give the advice to my younger self to grab every opportunity that you possibly can. I feel like I missed out on a lot. Primarily because my mother's very overprotective when I was younger. It still is, but more so when I was younger. So it's kind of like, no, you can't do that. No, you're gonna get hurt. No, you're gonna. And I completely understand that to an extent, but it did make me miss out on things I really wanted to do, like after school clubs, for example, or just after evening activities. Like, I really wanted to learn martial arts, and I will do in the next 2 years now. I am still going to do it. I don't think you're ever too old to learn martial arts and self defense. So, um, yeah, I mean, better late than never at the end of the day. But would I have wanted to do it when I was younger? Yeah, I would. Of course, I would. And just other opportunities in general that I probably would have really wanted to do. Um, some other advice that I'd probably give to my younger self is no one knows you better than yourself. Um, no one can tell you you're like something and make you question yourself, because you know yourself better than anyone else. You might have people around you who know you really well and know what you're like and know when you feel a certain way or what's going on with you, but at the end of the day they still won't know your innermost deep thoughts. Only you will know that, so only you will know what exactly the type of person you are. So yeah, that's the advice I would give to my younger self. That you don't let anyone else think that they know you and tell you what you are and who you are, because they don't. Only you do. um Question is another question from Mandeep. Thanks for the questions. What's the toughest thing you've had to endure in your life so far, and how did you get through it? Ooh, it's a deep one. Okay. So, for those who have gone through my other podcasts or read my previous poetry, you might know that my parents were divorced, and you might know already that it's been like years and years and years, like 20 plus years. And also that I have a sister as well, who's like 2 years older. Basically, she got in touch for the first time when I was around 16. Yeah, and my dad also got in touch at the same time after like complete abandonment. Yeah. The toughest time I would have to say is getting to know them again. Sorry, getting to know them for the first time, even because I was a baby when everything happened. I think it was tough because I felt it was very toxic. It was very manipulative. It was a very harsh realization that no matter how hard you try with someone, not everybody is a good person, and not everybody has good intentions for you, even though you really want to think that they will and you really want to think that they do. I'm not going to go into really personal details about this because it's family, but it's family business, sorry. But it was hard because I had to go through it at the beginning of uni and for the first year of uni as well, because I was told I had to go live with them, even though I had never lived with them before. And my family was like, yeah, you should try, because they were like adamant. It's like, the typical Punjabi thing to do is like, let's brush everything anyone feels under the carpet and just, say, yeah, just go live with them, even though you don't even hardly know them. Because that's the thing, just because someone's blood related to you doesn't mean they're your family. At the end of the day, if you haven't known them for 16, 17 years, that's not a bond. You don't have any bond with them. They are literally complete strangers to you. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was living with a pair of strangers. And I tried really hard, really, really hard to get on with them, but at the end of the day, like as I said, you can't change people and what they're like. You can't change people from being manipulative and toxic, and that's how I felt every day. I couldn't comprehend why someone who had never wanted to be a part of my life suddenly came back into my life and started acting like they were a dad when they weren't. So it was very much so, yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that, but you can't tell someone you have never been a parent to what to do. um and I feel like you should respect that person enough to go, do you know what, I understand I've never been a parent to you, but I'm not even going to try and tell you what to do, because obviously you already have a parent who tells you that. But I didn't get any respect in that sense from that, regarding that. It was just like, yeah, well, I'm your dad, so you have to call me dad. And I didn't even want to do that because I knew and I know what my mum went through as well. So it's kind of like you're not the nicest person. But yeah, so it didn't really end well. I moved out. I went to go live with my Mossy for the next couple of years at uni. But it kind of triggered everything from that point onwards for me to start getting really depressed. And for the rest of university, I think I was just pretty emotional, and I took things to heart quite a lot because of what had happened. Because when I had left school, I was kind of assured of myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna start uni, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it just didn't go that way at all. It was just, it kind of just it made me feel very, as I said, like emotional quite a lot of the time. So anything, if there was a certain thing, it kind of made me go back into my memories and sort of trigger it. Because it was just emotionally and mentally traumatic for me. It's hard to explain at times, but yeah. So I still do think about it sometimes, but I've suppressed a lot of that, which isn't the healthiest thing to do. But a lot of, I think, majority of I've dealt with, because I've done it through poetry. I've done it through talking to people I know and I get along with, who know me really well. So I've spoken to them. I think that's what you should do in these cases, is literally speak to your loved ones. Um, yeah, so that is one of the toughest things I think I've been through to date. And as I said, getting through it, to get through it, I just basically spoken to loved ones about it a long time afterwards. Actually, during that time, I didn't really write anymore as well, which was really upsetting because I just constantly was thinking about other stuff and just had a huge block on my head. So like a mind block, and I didn't really know what to write. And I only started writing after I finished university, so it was like about 4 years and not really writing anything anymore. I used to write articles like on my WordPress, but I didn't write any poetry much, to be honest. So yeah, missed out on a lot of writing because of certain things. But yeah, thanks for that question. Question 7 is from, hold on, where is it? Question 7 is from Sunny. What advice would you give for emotional and mental wellness? Okay. I wouldn't say I'm a professional or anything, so these I'll just give like a few tips. So for dealing with emotional mental wellness, mental health, I think the first thing, as I've just mentioned in the previous question, is to, oh, by the way, just linking back, sorry, Mandeep, basically I had to cut those people out of my life completely to get rid of the toxicity. And unfortunately, and I'm sure a lot of people have their own opinions about that, but at the end of the day, I know everything I went through. I know my own life. I know myself, so it was completely justified. Yeah. So first thing is to cut toxic people out of your life. I feel once you do that, you feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. So if you have toxic people in your life, just cut them off. There's a block button these days for everything. If you're living with them though, I understand that can be a lot more difficult. So I think sort of detach yourself from it as much as you can in any way you can. If that means like sticking your earphones in, if that means going on walks, then yeah, or even speaking to loved ones about it that you can actually know and trust. I think that's important. I think speaking in general to loved ones is important in dealing with mental and emotional health. A lot of people think maybe that they have to deal with it on their own, but you don't. Probably hear this time and time again. You should talk to other people because they can see it from a different perspective, so they can give you an outside perspective on what is going on and what you're going through, and how you might be able to deal with it better. That's one thing I've learnt. I would say try to keep yourself busy. That's what I tend to do, but I try not to get so consumed in the busyness that I forget to deal with things completely. And the way I deal with things is I write about them, or I talk to someone. So that's how I deal with things. So I talk to someone I know. So the best thing I think to do is like maybe you could even start writing about them, like a journal or something, or a diary, or you can maybe do arts, maybe do reading, anything that sort of calms your mind. I feel is very important. But I think the best thing, as I said, is like talk to someone you know and trust. My computer's locked itself. Damn it. Okay. How would you react if a close person opens up to you about something which is hurtful for them, and compared to how would you react with someone you don't know who gets upset about something? Okay, so basically, I think if you're close with someone and they're upset about something, I think my first reaction would be to console them because I know them and I know that, and also to listen to them and hear why they're upset. Because at the end of the day, you tend to get a feel of why they're upset. You know what they're like because they're close to you, obviously. So you would know how to console them because you might have done it before as well. Or you would know that they would be comfortable with you consoling them as well, rather than if you met a stranger and they got upset, and I think my first reaction would be to try and calm them down, or like ask how are they okay. Whereas if they're a close person, you automatically know they're not okay. You know why. So it's compared to someone you don't know, it's very different. So if this makes sense, I hope if I'm just rambling, just let me know in the comment box below. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very different because the person you don't know, they could react in a million different ways to you comforting them. So they could get angry, they can get annoyed. So whereas someone you know, you tend to, you know them well enough to know how they might react. So I think I would probably take a more cautious approach to someone I don't know who's upset, but I would still try to be compassionate towards them, just as I would if someone was close to me, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We should be more compassionate and more empathetic towards each other. That was also from Sunny with that question as well, sorry. Question 8 is from Guria, and Guria has a lot of questions for me. Which is fine. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate it. What does poetry and art mean to you? Poetry means a lot to me. As I said previously, it's a way to express myself. It's a way to sort of channel my inner emotions that I'm going through. It's a way to, I think it's a way to deal with things and make me a bit calmer, make me a bit more, like, you know, sometimes it's hard to explain myself. Yeah. I think poetry in itself is just, it's an amazing source of healing. That's what I find. And it's not just my own poetry I'm talking about. I'm just talking about in general as well, like other people's poetry. I read some pieces that sometimes I can really relate to. Like I really, really relate to some pieces. I'm like, that is me right there. And some people do that with mine as well. Like I've heard people say that to me, which is amazing. So yeah, I mean, to me that is what poetry is. It's a source of healing. It's a sort of source of expression. Same with art as well. I think you can interpret poetry and art a million ways, and only the real artist and writer will know exactly what they're painting or writing about. But it can be interpreted a million different ways, I feel. And that's, I think, something that's really special about creators and creative pieces. Question 9. From Hercules again. Where's that one place you'd rather be right now or rather live? Oh my gosh. If you've been on my Twitter, you know I'm obsessing about Alberta, Canada right now, and that is exactly where I want to go live. I've said this as well. I said, it's literally like you can work in the city and then go home, and with that view in the morning, oh my god. I can just imagine myself there, but unfortunately I don't live there. I live in drizzly UK with. I hate living in the UK. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. I would rather live either somewhere that is hot, like I don't know, or somewhere like I would rather live in Italy, or I'd rather live in Alberta, Canada, because I feel the openness of it all, the mountains. You can do hiking. You can literally go down the road and there's a place for you to go with your family. I feel you can just walk and you'll just like listen to music, and it just seems like a very calming and peaceful place. And when I see places like that, I'm thinking, wow, imagine waking up to those views in the morning. So yeah, Alberta, Canada is definitely the place I'd rather be right now. If you had one power that could change the world, question 10, what power would you have and what would you do? My computer keeps locking, guys. This is what I get for putting a 1 minute lock on it. What if you had a power that could change the world? What power would you have and what would you do to make the power? What would you do to make the world better with that power? Oh, this is really bad because the one power I would want is time travel. And I would want it because I could go back in time and see like Punjab pre-partition. I could go back in time and see what India used to be like. I could go back in time and see the dinosaurs because I love dinosaurs. I could go back in time and see what the first man or woman looked like. Yeah. And then I could collect all that evidence and then bring it back to present day. And I feel the thing is with it, obviously any movie you watch about time travel is like if you go back in time and change something, then it changes the rest of the course of time. And that's my limited knowledge of time, so, and science in general. So yeah, I guess that power could be used for good though. I mean, for example, if you could time travel, you can also, I think, make time stand still. So then maybe if someone's like trying to rob someone, or someone's trying to mug someone, take their money, or if someone's trying to hit someone, I guess you can move them out of the way and things like that. You could do, but then, as I said again, you could stop a lot of things, but then it might change something that might make the world even worse in present day. So, so it's a hit and miss, that one. What's your take on Tera Vyah di Umar Ho Gaya? Guys, I get this like every day. Literally every day. Right, so I'm 27 at the moment. I honestly, I do hear this quite a lot. So for me, it's I'd rather wait and meet someone I get on with, and I'm on the same wavelength. I can't talk anymore. I've talked too much. And meet someone who's on the same wavelength. Sorry, and then decide to get married to them, because at the end of the day, I'm actually pretty open to arranged marriage as well, but it's really hard to meet someone these days, if I'm gonna be honest with you. But so for me, it's I think that saying is really redundant, and it's really regressive as well, again, because it makes you feel like you have a shelf life and you don't. Yes, I'm completely unaware of the biological debate in regards to women, in terms of like how long we have that that time period, like how long we have when we can have kids and when we can't, but that's the thing with that, is not everybody wants to have kids. Like, other people might not want to have kids. Like, for example, I do, but someone else might not want to, so that might not really matter for them. Maybe they will just wait out until they really meet someone who feels the same way and has the same views. And I think it might be harder to have children as you get older for a woman, but it's not completely impossible. And there is also other ways of having kids if you really want them. Like, for some people, it's like you can adopt, you can use a surrogate, you can get IVF. Like, for example, if you don't have the natural option, if that's not no longer an option for you. But I think for girls especially, this phrase is really regressive, because it's kind of like, yeah, you do feel like you have a shelf life. You do literally feel like, if you don't get married by like 25, 26 or something, suddenly you get into your late 20s and everyone's looking at you like, oh yeah, you're like the last piece of bread on a shelf. To be just to be really blunt, that is literally what people look at you like. I feel like they're looking at you and they're thinking, oh, look at that bread, that last expired bread. Anyway, because that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like when you say that someone like, that always coincides with that. You're getting late. It always coincides with you're getting late. You need to get married, and it's just such a regressive thing to say, because you should be saying, like, if you really want to say something like that, just say, are you, what's your timeline? Like, when do you... I feel that's a more positive way of saying things, because then you're taking into consideration that they might be thinking about their career as well. They might want to settle down. They might want to have a certain amount of money in the bank before they get married. There's so many other things. And then they'll be like, well, I want to do this first, I want to do this first, and then I'll decide to get married. Or I want to do this, and then I'll look at the same time, and then I'll decide to get married. I think saying Delivyadu Umurhogi is very, very aggressive in comparison to, like, so what's your timeline? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Like, I feel like asking certain questions in a respectful way is a lot more progressive approach than that phrase. But yeah, that's my opinion. Sorry, what are your future plans in terms of poetry art? Oh, okay. I don't really do a lot of art, if I'm being honest with you. It is more poetry and prose. Prose is my favorite, by the way. I think other people think differently maybe, but prose is my favourite because it's raw and it's unfiltered compared to poetry, which is, I feel, more structured and sometimes I have to research for it. Prose is actually literally how I'm feeling at that current time when I write it. So if you ever read a bit of my prose, that's probably how I'm feeling at that time. So it does tend to be a bit more personal and it does tend to be more me. So compared to poetry, where if I can be writing about a certain topic and it has to be like a bit researched and it has to be a bit structured, so it actually makes impact. Where prose, it does make an impact, but it is, as I said, more raw, more unfiltered. So that's my favourite. I am currently writing a book. I haven't really said much about it because I'm still writing it. I've been writing it for about a year on and off now. When I get time from work, and hopefully, I will have the book in my hands by the end of the year. I'm hoping for my birthday, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. If not, it will be 2021. It was the goal to get it done for my birthday, but I'm just gonna have to see now. But yeah, that's future, and I'm in the process of writing another book as well, but that won't be out till like next year or the year after because that's gonna be a bit longer, I think. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. And the last question is ਹੋਰ ਫਿਰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ मैं ठीक ठाक है मैं ठीक ठाक है ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਾਓ let me know. Thank you guys for all your questions. I really appreciate it. That's all the questions now. I hope I answered them, you know, well enough. I hope you got your answers. If not, you can have a go at me later in the comment box below, or like just on DM on Twitter or Instagram, just be like, what was that about? Like, really? That was your answer to that? What a load of bullshit. I'll be like, okay, sorry. And then I'll just never do a podcast again. No, I'm joking. No, I will. But no, I really appreciate everyone answering those questions. I think it's just a great way, just a little great way for me to try and sort of for you guys to try and get to know me a little bit more, because I don't really share a lot of myself with anyone, to be honest with you, and for good reason as well. And I feel like I've rambled on enough. Like, I swear it's been more than an hour now. Jeez. Probably like, shut up already. Like, no one cares that much. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Listening to. See, I'm losing my voice right now. God, I can't talk. Listening to this Q&A podcast with your host, God. And hopefully you guys will tune into the main next podcast, the next topic, which is social fixation. So yeah, that will be my next podcast, and it will be based off the article, and I will be putting the link to the article in the box as well. But thank you for listening, and comment below, subscribe if you are new, and hello if you're new as well. And again, thank you for all the questions, guys. Really appreciate it. Bye.